Hello everyone, my name is Elliot Bowden. I'm the librarian for this Keystone seminar through the Looking Glass. I was supposed to come and visit your class yesterday evening, but it was canceled due to snow, and since we have Thanksgiving break next week, I wanted to make sure that you heard what I had to say about finding multimedia images to use in your multimedia and other images, sound files, etc., to use in your video project. So I decided to try and record my session. Hopefully I can show you some resources in the next 15 to 20 minutes to really help out with your project. So there's really three different things that I wanted to talk to you about. One is the idea of copyright and different ways that creative works, so a book, an image, a sound file, a video, really any type of media are licensed and what that means for what you can use. So in school projects that you've done before, you're probably used to being able to copy images from the internet into your PowerPoints or other projects and not really having to think very much about copyright. But as you finish your studies and transition into the real world of work, it really changes how you use media in things that you do for your job. So you're able to use kind of any images and media that you want in school projects because there's an exception to U.S. copyright law called fair use. And one of the reasons you can use things that are copyrighted in fair use is if it's for an educational purpose. But there's a big difference between giving a presentation at school and giving a presentation at a business or designing a website for your company. So you can't use copyrighted materials for things of that nature. I thought this video project would be a good introduction for you guys to start thinking about how to solve this problem of finding things that you can use that are not copyrighted for this project and going forward. So these are the three things I want to talk about briefly. Is all of it's copyright related. So there's these two ideas of the public domain and Creative Commons. Public domain, you may have heard of, is basically when the copyright on something has expired. So I presented to another section of this class this morning, and someone gave the example of Shakespeare. So there's no copyright on Shakespeare's plays because Shakespeare himself and his successors don't have any sort of rights to those works, so they're free to reprint and reuse. Other things are still copyrighted, and so they're not in the public domain. I'll show you a place to find things in the public domain. This could include like sound clips or film. Creative Commons is a new, relatively new alternative to copyright. So the way copyright works is every time you make something, whether it's posting a photo to Instagram or doodling on your class notes or writing a grocery list, by U.S. copyright law, all of those things are immediately copyrighted to you exclusively, so that if someone else copies or uses your work, you have grounds to take them to court and sue them for that use. So if you find you post your drawing online, let's say, and you find a business has taken your drawing and used it as their logo, copyright law protects you, the creator, and lets you sue them for using your work without your permission or without compensating you financially. Now, not all of us make media to make money, and some people would be very happy to have their work shared and reused in different ways. And that's where this Creative Commons idea comes in. So the Creative Commons is, instead of a traditional copyright, it's a different license that you can put on your work, whether that's a photo, a presentation, a video, whatever, and you get to specify how it is shared by others, whether they can use it for business purposes to make money, like in a corporate logo or in a video or in a website, or if it's just for educational or non-commercial purposes. And then you can also specify if they have to credit you as the original creator. So the Creative Commons gives people more control over what they make, and there's a way for you as students to find works that have been licensed in this way where the creator has said, I'm happy for you to reuse my work. And so you can do that for this project and then for media projects going forward. Let me flesh out my outline a little bit. So I'll show you a few resources where you can find Creative Commons materials. One is called CC Search, or Creative Commons Search. We'll look at that in a minute. That's a search engine that will filter for Creative Commons licensed content, so you won't get copyrighted results in your searches. I'm sure everyone's used Wikipedia before, but a partner site or part of the Wikipedia community is this thing called Wikimedia Commons. It's a trove of images, sound files, music files, some videos, all of which are either in the public domain, meaning they're not actively copyrighted, or they've been uploaded in a manner that's compliant, like they have a Creative Commons license. For music, the instructor told me this morning that a lot of you will be looking for music in your videos, and there is a website I'll show you called Ben Sound, where a musician creates kind of ambient music tracks specifically for use in videos, and it's all free to use. So some good resources there. And I also wanted to put this slide up so you guys could dig a little deeper. I'll show you in a minute when I transition away from the PowerPoint, but on our library website we have these things called research guides you may have used before. Sometimes we have them for a whole class, sometimes a specific kind of information, and in this case we have a few guides about copyright, fair use, and how to do citations. So there's more information there as you work on your projects. But let me switch over now to sharing my screen with you. And I'm going to show you what I've been talking about here. Okay, so here we are on the library website. Hopefully this isn't your first time looking at it. Just a few quick things I want to point out. Most of the resources or media you might use for this project actually won't be found on the library website, but we do have a couple of things to help you. One, I'd mentioned our research guides, so you can search here for our copyright guide. You can also find them if you explore with this big blue research guides button. I'm just going to search. The guide is actually called Copyright Websites, so it's all of the information we have about copyright law, which is probably more than you're interested in for this project. I will say I took a whole class on copyright, studying to become a librarian, and you know, it's pretty interesting. There are people who make an entire career out of the debates about what is and is not copyrightable and what qualifies as a fair use of someone else's work, and then what is going too far and is outright plagiarism. So the things I wanted to show you here specifically, because I don't think all of you want to read the copyright code, is this thing called fair use. So I'll be showing you how to find Creative Commons licensed materials. You can still use copyrighted items in your work, and so fair use is basically the part of the law that gives you a reason for using a copyrighted material. So there's a checklist here you might want to download that I like from Columbia University, and then there's like a tool that explains, you can kind of play a game and figure out if something is fair use. I don't want to get too in-depth into it here. Essentially, the major, see here's the actual full text of the law. As far as our purposes are concerned, fair use is okay if you're making a critique or a review of a material. So for example, a film reviewer couldn't review movies if they weren't able to show clips from a copyrighted film. So if you're copying something but it's so that you can review it, that's an acceptable purpose for using copyrighted material. Another fair use example is like the amount is being used. So if you use only a small section of a song, often it's copyright infringement to just copy someone's song or use someone's copyrighted music in your video without either the author's permission or without paying the author licensing fees for that. So if you wanted to put music to your video, let's say, you would have to contact the person or their record label and purchase the rights to use that song, and they wouldn't necessarily grant them to you. So I'll show you how to find songs where you don't have to request permission. But with songs, it's you can use a small amount, but if that's amount of the core part of the music, that's something that people can argue in court, and bands have won copyright lawsuits because they've been able to claim that the sample was so distinctive that it was ripping them off, essentially. There's a lot of fair use arguments to be made. I think for this project anyway, almost all of it falls under the educational exception. Although, why use copyrighted music if you can just as easily find copyright-free music? So, but that's just something to think about in the future when you're working on media projects. So we've got that guide, and that's our copyright and our fair use guide back on the library website. I've rambled on long enough about this stuff. If you have questions, I can talk all day about copyright, but let me show you some resources. So there's the CC search that I mentioned. This is the Creative Commons search, or search.creativecommons.org. So what this does is it allows you to search all of these different places on the internet. So Google Images, Flickr are sort of my two go-tos for images. Clipart, not so much. Wikimedia Commons is good for all kinds of media. I haven't myself looked for music very much before, so I don't know how SoundCloud and CC Mixter, how that works. But let's say in my video I needed some images, but I didn't need copyrighted images. So you can specify if you want to use something for commercial purposes. In this case, a video wouldn't be for commercial purposes, but maybe in the future you are making a business prospectus or building a company website and you do need something for commercial purposes. And then you can also filter the people who give Creative Commons licenses to their work. They can say, I want people to reuse this, and they can change it. Or people can reuse this, but they really can't change it in any way. So with an image, this would be you can reuse the image, but you can't Photoshop it, or you can't apply any filters or anything to it. So that's modify, adapt, or build upon. So I'm just going to search. And so what this is going to return is some cute dogs in the snow. And all of these photos have been licensed so that we can use them. We could use them in a corporate brochure, we can put them in a video, we can use them in any way. And what I like about Flickr is in the credits section of your video, it will be important to do attribution to show where this, where the media that you use, that you didn't create yourself, came from. Here we can see the photo was taken by user Misuk, M-I-S-U-K. And then all of them, at least all of the results in Flickr, will have this summary. Point out the specific Creative Commons license. And I'll show you this. When you create a Creative Commons license, you can say how it's used. So this is an attribution generic license. So you can share, copy the material in any medium or format. So we can put the dog in our video. And we can also adapt it. So if I wanted to Photoshop a warm winter coat on the dog, I could do that under the following terms. If I give appropriate credit, provide a link to the license, and show if changes were made. So this would be that in the credits of my video, I would say Coda in the Snow, image by user MISUK, Flickr user MISUK, and then I would probably say I provide that link to that Flickr page here. You can usually grab the link here. So I would share a link to the page, identify the user, identify the name of the photo, and then, because I have to attribute it, I would explain that it has the under Attribution 2.0 generic license. So I'd copy this text and put that in my credits page for the video. So that's one way that you can find images here on Flickr. You could do the same for Google Images, keep the same search and search a different website. And so what that does is it's just like a Google image search, except what the CC search has done is it's opened up this usually hidden toolbar, which gives you some more options for sorting your images. People don't use it very often, but one of the ways you can sort is filtering by license. So the typical search is not filtered by license, which are all kinds of copyrighted images that you couldn't use. But if you do filter, you can find images that have been indicated that they're okay to use. So anyway, so that's images. And for the video, we're working in a multimedia project. So let me show you, if you haven't been here before, to Wikimedia Commons. It's a collection, 50 million freely usable media files. So the nice thing about this is it has images, of course, but it also has some other types of media. So here on the right side, we've got our content section. So you can look based on topic, but also by the type of media. So if you need music for your video, for example, or you even want videos to clip from, you can check out what they have. And most of these are going to have some of the citation information on there as well. So let's see, composer, country, let's do music by genre. Let's see, if we're making a video, let's have some cute folk music on that. That's not what I had in mind for folk music, sea shanties. Oh, I don't know. Classical music is background by genre or form. There we go. Let's have a sonata in the background. Oh, they've got midis. So there's maybe a little bit of looking around. But for any of these, you could download them and put them into your video. And then let me, here we go. Each file, if it were to display correctly, I don't know what's going on here, it's going to have all the citation information here that you need to put in your credits page of your video. I don't know if you want to use the U.S. Navy Band's performance in your video, but if you do, it's all here. So sorry, that's one option is Wikimedia Commons, and there's images too. The last one I want to point out is called Ben Sound. So I used to make videos in a previous job, and this is a music composer who creates royalty-free music. Most of it's kind of cheerful, instrumental, something you might hear in the background of a promo video or a TV commercial, and he's put it together with licensing that anyone can freely use these in their videos, as long as in the credits you identify the name of the track and say music by Ben Sound and provide a link. So this is a pretty great source of stock music clips for videos that I have found. Okay, I'm going to switch back to the PowerPoints. So to recap really quick, I don't want to keep you guys too long, is for copyrighted things, you'll get an educational exception for this project if you want to use copyrighted music or images, but in the long run, it's probably better to find something that's Creative Commons or in the public domain, and that's something you might find on Wikimedia Commons. If you have more questions about copyright or want to chat with a librarian about it, we have those research guides. And then here is my contact information. I would have given you my card if I'd been able to come to class last night. You can email me and we can have an email conversation, or if you're going to be on campus, we can make an appointment and I can help you find some specific files to use in your video, or just answer any questions that you might have. Like I said, the use of media in projects is really complicated and something that I could talk about for a very long time. So we also have, as I have written here on the slide, is on the library homepage, there's a Contact a Librarian button. I'll switch over one more time so that you can see that. And so the Contact a Librarian button does have our phone number on it, so you can call us at the desk, and a librarian would be happy to help you. It's open till 10 p.m. on weekdays and slightly reduced hours on the weekends. You can find that our hours are on our homepage. But we also have this chat box, and so the chat is available 24 hours a day. So if you have any questions about finding resources or how copyright works, a librarian, someone would be happy to help you at 3 a.m. Probably won't be me, but someone is always going to be there for you. So thanks for watching. I'm sorry I couldn't make it to class, and good luck with your project.